3 words from Clint Eastwood ended an actor's career forever. Pack your things. That is all it took to destroy a promising Hollywood career in less than 30 seconds. But what led to this moment will shock you because the actor thought he was untouchable. October 1992, the remote badlands of Alberta, Canada. Clint Eastwood was directing what would become his masterpiece. Unforgiven 4 Academy Awards waited in the future. But first, he had to deal with the most arrogant actor he'd ever encountered. The man we'll call Derek Matthews had just made the biggest mistake of his life. Again, for the 3rd day in a row, Matthews strolled onto set hours late. 75 crew members had been waiting since dawn. Cameras ready, lights perfectly positioned. Everyone except the one person they actually needed. But this time was different. This time, Clint Eastwood had reached his breaking point. What happened next became Hollywood legend, a cautionary tale whispered in every studio lot. A reminder that talent without respect means nothing. And it all started with 5 simple words that no actor ever wants to hear from a director. The Alberta Badlands were unforgiving in October. Temperatures dropped below freezing at night, then climbed toward scorching by noon. The landscape was brutal, perfect for a story about hard men making harder choices. Unforgiven wasn't just another Western. It was Clint's dark meditation on violence, redemption, and the lies we tell ourselves about heroes. The script was tight. The budget was reasonable. The schedule was aggressive but achievable. That is how Clint worked. Efficient, professional, no drama, just results. He'd built a reputation over 2 decades of directing. Cast and crew knew what to expect. Early calls, long days, but everyone went home on time and under budget. His sets were workshops, not playgrounds. Then Matthews walked into the picture. Derek Matthews was New York theater royalty, Broadway credits, prestigious acting schools, method training with the best coaches money could buy. His agent had fought tooth and nail to get him this supporting role. He is talented, the casting director warned Clint, but he has a reputation. What kind of reputation? Difficult. Very method. He once lived on the streets for 3 months preparing for a homeless character, refused to break character between takes. Clint considered this. He respected actors who took their craft seriously, but there was a line between dedication and self-indulgence. Give him the part, Clint decided. Just make sure he understands how we work here. That was his first mistake. The production meeting should have been a warning sign. Clint laid out his expectations clearly. 6 a.m. call times, professionalism on set, efficiency in shooting. The crew works hard, and actors need to match that energy. Matthews nodded through the entire meeting, but his eyes were elsewhere. These logistics were beneath him. He was here to create art, not punch a time clock. He was about to learn the difference. Monday morning, the 12th of October, call time, 6 a.m. sharp. The location was a remote ranch, an hour drive from base camp. The morning light was crucial. They had maybe 90 minutes of perfect golden hour before the sun climbed too high. By 5:45 a.m., 75 professionals were ready. Camera operators checking their equipment, lighting technicians making final adjustments, makeup artists touching up the other actors who'd been in chairs since 4:30 a.m. Clint sat in his director's chair, reviewing the shot list, every detail planned, every angle considered. The machine was oiled and ready to run. Except Derek Matthews' trailer remained dark. 6 a.m. came and went. No Matthews. 6:30 a.m. The first assistant director knocked politely. No answer. 6:45 a.m., louder knocking. Still nothing. The crew began shifting uncomfortably, checking watches, whispering among themselves. This wasn't how Clint Eastwood sets worked. This wasn't professional. At 7 a.m., Matthews finally opened his trailer door. He was still in street clothes, hair uncombed, and instead of looking embarrassed about being an hour late, he looked annoyed at being disturbed. "I am preparing," Matthews said. His tone suggesting the assistant director was interrupting something sacred. "My artistic process requires deep internal work before I can inhabit the character." The assistant director tried to explain. They were losing the morning light. 75 people were waiting. Art doesn't work on a schedule, Matthews replied. Then he closed the door. Clint received the news calmly. Too calmly, those who knew him recognized the dangerous stillness in his voice. We'll shoot around him. Move to scene 14. The crew scrambled to reposition equipment. Valuable time lost, perfect lighting wasted. By the time Matthews emerged at 8:30 a.m. ready to work, they'd burned 2.5 hours. Clint said nothing to Matthews. He simply adjusted the schedule, got the actor through his scenes efficiently, and moved on. But he was watching, and he was remembering Tuesday morning. Same call time, same remote location. Same 75 crew members who'd woken up at 4:30 a.m. At 6 a.m. Matthews's trailer was dark and silent. At 6:30 a.m., still dark. The crew's frustration was visible now. Yesterday had been bad enough, but a pattern was emerging, and everyone could see it. At 7 a.m., the assistant director knocked with less patience than before. Matthews answered, wearing a bathrobe, sipping coffee like he was on vacation. I told you yesterday, Matthews said, irritation clear in his voice. My artistic process requires time. I need to meditate, to center myself, to find the character's emotional truth. We have 75 people waiting, the assistant director said carefully. Then they'll learn patience, Matthews replied. Great performances can't be manufactured on an assembly line. He finally emerged at 8:45 a.m. Over 2.5 hours late again, when told they'd have to skip his scene due to lost lighting. Matthews shrugged. If the light isn't right, the light isn't right. As if his lateness vindicated his artistic standards rather than causing the problem. Clint watched this unfold from his director's chair. He adjusted the schedule again, shot what they could, and noted that Derek Matthews had just made his second strike. That evening, the producer approached Clint privately. We need to talk about Matthews. 2 days, 2 major delays. We're losing budget and schedule. I'm aware, Clint said. Should we warn him, threaten to fire him? No threats, Clint replied. 1 more day. Let's see if this is who he really is. It was. Wednesday morning was crucial. Matthews had his biggest scene, a dramatic confrontation requiring precise timing with other actors, complex camera movements, and specific natural light they'd only get for 90 minutes maximum. Extra crew had been called in, additional equipment coordinated, multiple departments synchronized around this single shoot. Call time, 6 a.m. sharp. At 5:45 a.m., everyone was ready. Actors in position, cameras prepped, lights set, sound recording, everyone, waiting for Derek Matthews. At 6 a.m., his trailer was closed. At 6:15 a.m., still closed. At 6:30 a.m., the assistant director knocked. No answer. At 6:45 a.m., louder knocking. Nothing. That is when Clint Eastwood stood up from his director's chair. The entire crew watched as he walked across the set toward Matthews's trailer. This was unprecedented. Clint typically directed invisibly, a quiet presence in his chair. When he moved, something significant was about to happen. Clint knocked on the trailer door, 3 sharp raps that echoed across the quiet set. After a long moment, Matthews opened the door. He was in his bathrobe again, holding a cup of tea, looking annoyed at the interruption. We're ready for you, Clint said quietly. I am preparing, Matthews replied, his tone suggesting this should be obvious. My artistic process can't be rushed. I need to access deep emotional memories for this scene. It takes time. What time was your call? Clint interrupted. His voice still quiet, but with an edge that cut through the morning air. Matthews launched into his prepared speech about art, how real acting requires going to places that can't be scheduled. How he wasn't some television actor who just hits marks and delivers lines. What time was your call? Clint repeated, not asking now. Stating, his quiet voice somehow carrying more authority than shouting ever could. Matthews blinked, thrown off his artistic justification. 6, but that is just. It is 7 a.m., Clint said, each word deliberate and final. You are an hour late, 3rd day in a row. 75 people have been waiting for you. Great art requires sacrifice, Matthews said, recovering his confidence. Those people are being paid to wait. My job is to create something transcendent. That is when Clint Eastwood said the words that ended Derek Matthews' career. "Pack your things." Matthews stopped mid-sentence, mouth open. "Excuse me." "Pack your things," Clint repeated. His voice that same quiet rasp that had become famous in westerns. "You are fired. There is a car waiting to take you back to Los Angeles. You have 30 minutes. The entire crew had gone silent, 75 people frozen, watching this unfold. Matthews laughed nervously. "You can't fire me. We're in the middle of production. You need me." "No," Clint said simply. "We need someone professional. Someone who respects other people's time. Someone who understands that filmmaking is collaborative. That is not you." "This is insane," Matthews said, his voice rising. "I am creating art here. You can't fire someone for taking their craft seriously." "I am not firing you for taking craft seriously," Clint replied. "I am firing you for being late 3 days in a row and showing no respect for the 75 professionals who've been waiting while you drank tea in your bathrobe." Matthews looked around the crew, perhaps expecting support or sympathy. He found none. 75 people who'd been up since 4:30 a.m., who'd driven an hour to this location, who'd been ready and waiting, just stared back at him with zero sympathy. "You are making a huge mistake," Matthews said to Clint. "I am the best actor you'll ever work with." 30 minutes, Clint said, cutting him off. Then he turned and walked back to his director's chair. Matthews stood in his trailer doorway for another moment, apparently waiting for Clint to change his mind or for someone to intervene. Neither happened. Finally, he went back inside and slammed the door. Clint turned to his first assistant director. "Call the actor we screen, tested who came in second. See if he can be here tomorrow. Reschedule Matthews' scenes for next week." Then he addressed the crew. "We're moving to scene 22. Let's not waste the morning." The crew erupted into activity, reorganizing for a different scene, grateful to finally be working instead of waiting. Several crew members were smiling. A few were trying not to laugh. Within 25 minutes, Derek Matthews emerged from his trailer with his bags, looking furious. A production van was indeed waiting to take him back to Los Angeles. He climbed in without speaking to anyone and left. Clint didn't watch him go. He was already focused on the next shot. The story spread through Hollywood before Matthews' van reached the airport. Clint Eastwood fired an actor for being late, and citing artistic process became industry gossip within hours. By the next day, it was in the trade papers. Matthews' agent tried to spin it as creative differences or scheduling conflicts, but too many crew members had witnessed what really happened. The truth came out. Matthews had been fired for being unprofessional and hiding behind artistic process as an excuse. The impact on his career was immediate and devastating. Directors who'd been considering him suddenly weren't interested. Producers asked pointed questions about his reliability. Studios put him on unofficial difficult actor lists within a year. Matthews was back doing regional theater. The promising film career his agent had worked so hard to build was completely destroyed by 3 late arrivals and 1 conversation with Clint Eastwood. Meanwhile, the actor Clint hired to replace Matthews showed up 15 minutes early every day, knew his lines perfectly, and delivered an excellent performance that contributed to the film's success. Unforgiven went on to win 4 Academy Awards. Clint won Best Director and Best Picture. The film is now considered one of the greatest westerns ever made. Derek Matthews is remembered, when he is remembered at all, as the actor who was fired from Unforgiven for lecturing Clint Eastwood about artistic process. Years later, in an interview about directing, Clint was asked about the incident. His response was characteristically brief. "Film sets require discipline, not because of some authoritarian philosophy, but because hundreds of people are coordinating complex work. When one person decides their process is more important than everyone else's time, they're not an artist, they're just selfish." But the crew members who were there tell a more detailed story. They talk about how 75 people had been standing ready at 6 a.m., how they'd lost perfect morning light 3 days in a row, how Matthews had dismissed their time as unimportant while he meditated in his bathrobe. And they talk about how Clint's firing of Matthews wasn't angry or dramatic. It was matter of fact, delivered in that quiet voice with the same calm he brought to every directing decision. Pack your things. Cars waiting, 30 minutes. The incident became legendary not because it was loud or theatrical, but because it was the opposite. It was Clint, simply drawing a line. Professionalism matters. Your time doesn't count more than 75 other people's time. Art doesn't excuse disrespect. To this day, my artistic process can't be rushed, is a phrase you don't want to use on a Clint Eastwood set. And showing up late while everyone else is ready is a career mistake you only get to make once. Because in Hollywood, talent without respect means nothing. And Clint Eastwood proved that with just 3 words that ended everything. The lesson is simple. No matter how good you think you are, nobody is irreplaceable. Everyone's time matters, and professionalism isn't the enemy of art. It is what makes art possible. Derek Matthews learned this too late. His name is now a cautionary tale whispered in every studio lot. A reminder that in the end, it is not about how talented you are. It is about how you treat the people around you. And when you forget that, sometimes all it takes is 3 words to remind you. Pack your things.